Welcome back to Wheat State Wool. I am Sarah. Hey y'all. This tutorial is all about the single crochet for beginners. But before we get started, please hit the like button, click the subscribe button, and the little bell icon to be notified every time I upload a new video. And thank you so much for joining me. Today's tutorial is all about the single crochet for beginners. In the last tutorial, the very first one, you learned a lot. You learned about yarn and tools needed and hooks and things like that. But you also learned how to do a slip knot, how to hold the yarn in the hook, and how to make a chain. It was pretty productive lesson, I'd say. Today's video is all about the single crochet, which is the first stitch that you'll learn how to do aside from the chain. So the single crochet is, they measure these stitches by height. Excuse me, I've been losing my voice and it's probably going to keep going. So a single crochet is the height of a chain, one chain. You remember all those chains you make? So it's the height of one of these. Yeah, it's pretty small. So with that in mind, when you're thinking of how many chain stitches you need to make, you will do the number of chains you need to make the width or length of your project, plus one more to get that stitch up, that height. In crochet, we chain up one each round or row to get to the height of the stitches that we need for the next row. And it also depends on what stitch you're using, because it may be 2, 3, 4, and even 5 chains up before you start working across your row. So now that you're thoroughly confused, let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So here I chained up 11. I wanted 10 single crochets. So I did 10 plus one more because I need to do that. It's my turning chain essentially. So I'm grabbing all the stuff I need here and holding everything the way I need to get moving. So you need to insert your hook into the second chain from the hook. So coming from the hook, not the bottom, but from the hook itself. This is the first chain. This doesn't count for anything. And this is the second chain. So we can't really go into here, but if we did, it would just undo this chain. That's also why you need that extra chain. So we're going to go into this one. Now, here's the thing. You can go holding this chain up like so. You can go in just like this. You can try to go under 2 of those loops and only have one on the bottom. Or you can do what I like to do, which is turn this thing over, and you can see that there are back bumps. See those? Back bumps. I like to go into those, and they're in the same place. So this first stitch is now pretty smashed because I've been pulling on it. But right here is going to be my first bump, first loop that I'm going to go into. And the reason I choose that is it puts this pretty V down on the bottom. So if I'm going to work a border, I have that pretty V to work into. It makes it a lot easier. So in order to work that single crochet though, we're going to go into a loop on the second chain from the hook. And then you're going to yarn over, which you practiced in your first lesson, and pull up a loop. And just leave it there. So now we have 2 loops on our hook. Now you're going to yarn over again, and the way I do that, remember I'm like scooping it. I turn that hook downward, and I'm going to pull that through both loops and up. And that is our first stitch. That's the very top. And there are 2 loops involved with the top. There's the front loop that's closest to you, and then the back loop, which is obviously the back. All right. And a lot of times when you're working in these stitches, you need to go under both, unless the pattern says otherwise. So this next bump here is going to be my next stitch. If you are working this way, you're just going right here. Okay? So I'm going to go insert my hook in the next chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop, hold it there. Now I'm going to yarn over again and pull that through both loops. And now I have 2 stitches, 2 single crochets. So here's my next chain, and I'm going to go into a loop there and yarn over and pull up a loop. So now I have 2 on my hook again, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. So now I have 3. Each little V counts as 1 single crochet. So my next chain is right after the one we just worked, right there. So I'm going to insert my hook again. Don't be afraid to use other fingers to help you. I'm going to yarn over and pull a loop through it. 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over again and pull through 2. Just go nice and slow as I am right now. If this is your very first time, if this is a brush up for you, just work as fast or slow as you need to. Because again, what you need to do for you is what is right. So now I'm going to go into my next chain. Once again, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops. Now you can see we're getting quite a few stitches here on our chain. So I'm going to go into the next chain and do the same thing. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way down to the very last chain, which is where the slip knot is. And I will work into that one as well, but I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to let you watch. And hopefully you're working with me, because it really is better to work alongside. So here's that last stitch, the slip knot. I can see my bump right there. I'm going to go ahead and go into that. If you don't like working along those back lumps, don't. Wait till you've got more experience. But I figured I'd show it to you early, so that early on you perfect that. Alright, now that I've worked my last single crochet stitch, I think we should count and be sure I have 10. Maybe I only have 9. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I actually do have 10. So I chained up 10 plus 1, so 11. And then I worked back across my chain and I ended up with the 10 stitches that I wanted. Now to work the next row, you're simply going to chain 1 before turning. So again, you know how to do a chain. So chain up 1 and then turn your work. Now we're going to identify where to put your hook, for these next stitches. Now remember what I said, something about the V's? We have another V here. That's our chain 1. So we don't want to work into that. We want to work into this one here, which is our actual stitch. But how do we get under that? You might have seen it already, but there is a gap right there. Those are the gaps that we want to put our hook. So I'm just going to angle things and put my hook right into that gap underneath both V's, both loops, front and back loops. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull it back through. So now I have 2 loops on my hook again. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both. So the next one is right here. Okay. I'm going to go under both loops and pull up a loop. And then yarn over and pull through 2, just like we did along the bottom. We're doing the same thing along the top. The only thing that changed is where you're inserting your hook. So now the next one is right here. So I'm going to insert my hook there, yarn over and pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2. And you can see we've worked 3 of our 10 stitches. And as a beginner, I highly recommend not only do you count, but you grab a stitch marker that we talked about in that first video, and you mark the first stitch you did with a locking stitch marker that hopefully works. There we go. So you can see you need to work into that stitch when we come back around for the next row. Don't forget it, because then your work will start to slant inward and it would be decreasing, which we don't want to do yet. So hopefully you've already located your next stitch there. There's the front and back loops of it, and there is the hole, the gap that we need to go under. And then work your single crochet on top. So I'm just going to do that all the way down. And this is a stitch right here. You see there are 2 loops, the front and the back. And without splitting yarn, that's the key. Finish your stitch. So I should have 10. Let's make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So now to make that next row, again, we chain 1 and turn. Now this is the last stitch of the row to work. Then make sure I go into that. Now we get our first one here. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up that loop, and work a single crochet as normal. But I'm also going to now grab another stitch marker and put it through this one. So now I know this is the last stitch for the next row that I need to work into, so I don't miss it. And I'm going to go find all the little gaps I need. You can see them very easily to make my next row of single crochet stitches. Now, as you can see, I often put my finger up here to hold that in place, mostly just so it doesn't slide all over and I have to chase it. It isn't imperative. You can do it without. I just don't like, it's like riding in a car without a seatbelt for me. So I'm just working this all the way to the end like normal. And here I am at my last stitch. And this little bump right here is your turning chain, that right there. So we know we're not going to work into that, but we do want to work into the last stitch. And now our edges are nice and straight. Okay, let's do one more, and I'm going to try and hold the hook a different way so that those that are holding it in the pencil position can kind of see maybe how I'm doing that. Okay, so here we go, pencil. Now remember what I told you about a finger that kind of holds the loop. In this case, most people use the middle finger when they're using the pencil hold. So I found my first gap. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Then I'm going to yarn over. It's much harder because I'm used to the other way, and pull through 2 loops like normal. The technique, what you need to do, the steps you need to do to make the stitch are still the same. It's just that you're holding the hook a different way. And I have made entire projects holding the hook this way, which is why I can kind of do it right now. But it is slower for me. And it also changes my stitch sizing. It makes them smaller. So anyway, that's how you do the pencil hold. I'm a knife person, sorry. So I'm working my single crochets all the way to this last marked stitch. take the marker out, work your final stitch. And there you have it. You can see that my edges are straight. I'm not increased or decreased. I have exactly 10 stitches. I hope this tutorial was very helpful to you. Please remember to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the little bell icon. Also, leave a comment. What's your favorite way to hold the yarn or the hook? Did you like the single crochet? It's a pretty small stitch, but it is cute. What do you think about using these to mark your first and last stitches of each row so you don't have to count so much? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video where you will learn how to do a half double crochet. Until then, see you later.